All right, wonderful. Welcome, everyone, to our large group mobile CSP Hangout on Air. We have Jane Krause with us today from the National Center for Women in Information Technology. She is the lead on the Counselors for Computing program and is going to share with us some information about that program and the materials that you're receiving in your Counselors for Computing packets. Before we start, I just want to go over some logistics for the Hangout. First of all, if you have comments, you're welcome to leave comments on the event page using the comments tool underneath where the video is live streaming. If you have questions that you want answered by Jane or one of the members of the mobile CSP team, then you are welcome to use to submit those using the Q&A app. So you should see a little blue Q&A button that pops up to the side of the video that you can use to submit your questions, and we can select them to be answered. So if they're just general comments, try to use the comments under the video feed. If they're questions for the presenter, then please use the Q&A. All right, I think we are ready to get started. Then, Jane, I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you. I hope everybody can hear me all right, and welcome. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you today. The theme of my talk is counselors as allies in our interest of getting more and more kids involved in computer science. And I'm actually at University of Virginia today doing something quite similar with a group of teachers, talking to them about working with counselors. And they're just maybe a step ahead of you in terms of their preparation. They've been teaching CS for a while, and they're in a program called Tapestry this week, which is all about increasing their improving their practices, recruiting effectively, and increasing kind of the inclusivity of their methods. And I'm sure you're learning a lot of that in your mobile CSP course too. I just have to show you quickly. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm at this beautiful campus. It's just lovely, you know. Thomas Jefferson started this school, and so it's just got a long and storied history. It's really fun to be here. It's a very lofty feeling being here. So I'm going to switch over now to my presentation. So I'm going to do a screen share, and as Jen told you, you can do chats in the right column, and then you can do questions as well.
And I would just encourage folks, if you have not gone to a Tapestry workshop before, if you hear about one in the future, they're wonderful. We hosted one at Scholastica a couple years ago and try to incorporate as much as we can into our mobile CSP training. So Tapestry workshops are great.
Well, now I'm seeing that my PowerPoint, I'm back to the very last one, so let me, that's not bad though to start with the end in mind, but we'll get started now. Okay, and you may have already heard a little bit about NCWIT, but I'll tell you just a tiny bit about how, within the context of this project. So the project that I manage is called Counselors for Computing, and NCWIT is an organization of 700 organizational members from K-12, from the nonprofit sphere, from universities, and every tech company you could think of. Also, companies for which technology is a backbone, so finance organizations, broadcasting, all kinds of different enterprises get involved with NCWIT, and everyone has the shared interest in increasing the meaningful participation of girls and women in computing. And one of the things we started thinking about in the K-12 Alliance is that counselors are an important constituency because they are gatekeepers in their way. They schedule kids into classes, they're involved in their post-secondary planning, they set up career fairs, they broker internships and job shadows, they help with scholarships. They do a lot of important things, but one of the things they don't do is guide around a specific major or career pathway in computer science because it's not that familiar to them. So that's where we come in. We wanted to meet them where they are and help them provide counselors with the information and resources they could use so they could enhance their counseling practice. So this is just one counselor who is activated through interaction with us, and her name is Jill. She lives in, she works in Sacramento, California, and she's using some of the NCWIT Counselors for Computing resources right there with a small group of students. Her story is kind of fun because once she was sort of activated, she said she became not just active with her students, but actually an advocate for computer science in California. And so she's a real success story for us. But one of the things that she reminded me, and I've worked with her since, is that counseling is a very heart-based profession, you know, and so people really are looking out for what's right for their kids. And there are specific messages that particularly work with them. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. One of the things we do when we get started with counselors, when we do our professional development, which is usually like a pretty full day professional development workshop, or sometimes you know, broken up over a couple days, but we want to make sure they understand what computer science is and who's right for it. And one of the things we start with is the Codeorg video. You've probably seen that one. It's called the subject, The Schools Don't Teach. And this is one screen grab from that video that really resonates with counselors. And we really get at the interdisciplinarity of computing. And so this is a quote from Vanessa Hurst that they mention every time I show the video. If someone had told me that software is really about humanity, that it's really about helping people by using computer technology, it would have changed my outlook earlier. And so I'm just keeping that in mind. That's kind of a theme that we keep alive in our professional development, and it's a suggestion to you that as you talk with counselors, just keep tying it back to their interest in developing human potential and their kids' interests in making a difference in the world. So we'll go on from there, but that's kind of a theme of our work. So one of the things we wanted to do recently, and I'm not going to go too far into this, but you know, we picked up so much anecdotally. This project has been going on for 5 years now, and we picked up so much anecdotally, and we were hearing things from teachers about their counselors and from counselors themselves that made us wonder if we understood the counselor experience well enough. And it was really, we did a study last fall, and the intention was just for our own program improvement. But the results were so interesting that we started sharing them with others, but the N was so small, only 80 counselors, that we decided we need to go at it again and do a bigger study. So now we're going large with a bigger study, and I just thought I'd share a few bits of information about the counselor experience that might help you understand the context for their work, and then within that, the ways that you can collaborate with them. So only 69 people answered this question, but of the people who did, 69 of these counselors, 61 of them came up through a social sciences or humanities pathway, many of them with a first degree in psychology. And so it's not too surprising that their background might affect their readiness to guide towards STEM and computer science in particular. You probably understand kind of the challenges of explaining and showing computer science because it's all kind of embedded, right? And so when we think back to their experiences, then we need to think about, well, then what do they need to know? What needs to be different about what they understand so that they can guide more effectively? But I just thought this was an interesting note. And so one of the things we do in C4C is we make sure that they have some experiences with computing. There's a lot going on in this picture. This is actually a workshop that we did at the Google headquarters in Chicago, and these are area counselors who are being led by a young woman who, she was in high school at this point. She's running the Sorting Networks activity. It's an unplugged activity that shows how you can have kind of parallel processing to get to to a result faster through computing. And so we want to make sure that they get a feel for what computer science is. We also use some of the Code.org Hour of Code activities with them, and we just want them to get a sense of it. And of course we have a Brielle there so that they get a picture of a girl who they might counsel, you know, a kid just like one in their school who they might look at differently now and imagine as somebody who would be, who should consider computer science. And then a little more about what counselors do. They have sort of 3 or 4 main jobs, and a lot of it has to do with academic success. I kind of alluded to this earlier. They work with kids' schedules, they get involved in their post-secondary planning, they set up career fairs and all those kinds of things, and academic things. They do a lot of, they're very busy during testing time, so that's an important part of their work. They also, like I said, they do post-secondary planning with kids. One of the things we thought was, what we found out was interesting, is that they guide toward college fit more than they do toward a major. And so that's another point where we interject to say, you know, well, let's not just think about whether a kid needs to go to a school that's small or big or near or far away or at an affordable level. Let's also think more with kids about the major that they'd like to pursue, and then where they might go with the major. So that idea of college fit is, it was interesting for us to learn that that's the bigger interest of theirs with kids rather than the major that kids might pursue. They also spend an awful lot of their time on social and emotional health. Most counselors are general counselors, and they deal with all of these things. Some schools, and maybe yours, has one person that's sort of focused on college counseling. But when I was just in New York last week, and I was talking to counselors who, one of their jobs during the day in New York City public schools is to go around and round up all of the cell phones that teachers have confiscated during the day. And it was kind of breaking my heart to think that that's how they were spending their time. But they're dealing with social issues and school issues and emotional health, the juvenile justice system, special education, and IEPs. They are busy people, so we just need to remember that their work life isn't. You need to know when and how to interact with them. Yeah, and then a lot of administrative stuff too. I forgot that. Just a lot of administrivia in my mind, but paperwork galore. So they're busy people. They're also, their ratio of the national average ratio of students to counselors, 460 to 1. So they have big caseloads, and so that's a good thing to remember as well. And when we did our study, we found, like I said, they don't really actively guide around computing pathways, but so less than 1/3 take an active role in counseling around computing precisely, like that 11% there. Maybe they see somebody who's involved in computing and they see some of their work, which could be very possible now that you're getting mobile CSP going. But if they see kids with specific attributes, they might say, hey, you know, you might consider this school or that school, or you might consider taking these next courses. And 20% say they're very active about computing counseling, and I would like to attribute that to the growing momentum just socially and just out in, you know, public awareness of computing and kind of the big coding movement. But fewer than 1/3 are active when it comes to guiding toward computing. Yet the thing we found out is if they get information, like if a kid comes to them and says, I have an interest, then they do become active. So we have some strategies for how kids can actually start the conversation with counselors too that I'll share with you a little later. Then we asked counselors who was right for computing, and these things probably wouldn't surprise you. So I'll just let you look at that. And they're probably all true. but they're really reaching out to the STEM kids, right? The kids who are already high achieving in math and science. One of the things that concerned us is that they don't understand or appreciate that computing is a creative endeavor. So they didn't think of their creative students as people who would be right for computing. So that's another message that we like to share, is the creativity and the interdisciplinarity of computing. So this is one of the things we like to do a lot, is I chose this because it's kind of related to a creating field, but this young woman has been involved in developing software that aids in the restoration of ancient artworks. And so she has taken her interest in art and art history and computer science and merged those together to be able to do something really interesting. And so getting across to counselors so that they can get across to kids that CS maps to things they care about and are good at is a useful strategy. And so I would just like to really recommend that you dig in with your counselor colleagues, and now we'll kind of shift over to, well, what kinds of things can you do with them? How can you get started? Just like you, I think the point of intersection is the common interest you both have in maximizing human potential, right? I mean, teaching is nothing but. This picture shows some counselors working with teachers and actually learning some computing concepts. So maybe you would take it on yourself to have them try a few activities with you. Maybe invite people to a tea after work and after class, and tell them about your course. We'll get into that more. But if you could convene your counselors and have a conversation, that's the way to start. The first thing that I would do if I sat down with counselors at this moment in time is I would let them know that they are part of a movement, that we are all part of this larger movement. And you could talk specifically how your new courses are situated within that movement. So we'll just go on, and I'll give you a few of the data points that I'd share about Computer Science for All and just the momentum for computer science around the country. You know, everybody likes to be part of something, and so if they can help and get more and more kinds of kids involved in computer science, they can feel good about that. They're part of this bigger initiative. So one of the things I'd do is I'd provide a context. You know, well, why do we need CS for All? Well, it's because we have a problem. One, the talent pipeline is too small and it's not diverse. You know, right now we can't fill. We can only fill, Jen, you can correct me, 42% of the jobs that that require a bachelor's degree. That's the number that we can fill right now. So it's a problem. And then this is a Brown University hackathon picture from 2014, and if you look off to the left side of your screen, you'll see that I actually had to cut the picture off just to make sure that that one female showed in it. And I've been interested to see that counselors and counselors, I'd say school counselors are about 75% female. They in particular kind of get their back up when they realize, hey, there are all these great opportunities out there and our girls aren't taking part. And so this is another image that really resonates with them. I'm sure this young woman must have a lot of fortitude to be one of, you know, such a big group and being the only female there. But so getting across kind of why we have these initiatives to increase computer science education and making them inclusive courses is an important point to get across to counselors. And here's another bit of context. From the 70s on, people moving through STEM pathways, women were just really joining these ranks, and except for computer science, there was sort of a point where they started falling away. And if we could extend that date line, the timeline across the bottom, we're seeing a little bit of an uptick now, but and we hope we can attribute it to all the effort of everyone in the CS education community and in industry, but it's still kind of abysmally low, and women are something like, I think, 17% of the majors in college in computer science now. So it's a problem. And let's see what this next. Nope, I have another slide that kind of gets at data around this. We'll get to it in a minute. But back to kind of being part of a movement. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we now have 30 states and the District of Columbia counting CS toward graduation. So you could talk with your counselors about what is going on in your state, how it's very important for them to know how courses count toward graduation, right? They're concerned for kids to graduate and also for their transcript for when they're applying for college. So this is important information to share. And I would share with them information about, and this is an old slide, but this represents the training initiatives and in the CS10K project, the effort to train teachers. So 10,000 new schools are offering computer science. We're really dying. The CS10K group put this slide out a couple years ago, obviously, and we're really dying for the updated slide because it'll be fun to show them in comparison because things are really, really going on. So this is the other slide I wanted to talk to you about women and, well, just people generally in STEM fields. One of the big messages to get across to counselors is that CS leads to really good jobs, right? And we've got some resources in your packet that we'll look at later that describe more about that. But let's just look at 2 elements on these slides, 2 fields and 2 of the bars on these graphs. So if you would look at the computer science and mathematics section and the social sciences section, and if you look at the blue line, that shows how many bachelor's degrees are being conferred. This slide is from 2014. That should be marked on here, but it's not. But if you look at the blue, the kind of teal blue bar, that shows you how many degrees are being granted. If you look at the green bar, that shows you how many jobs were projected between 2010 and 2020. So there's an inverse relationship there. We're not producing enough computer science majors, but there are lots of jobs going unfilled. On the other hand, in the social sciences, we're putting out tons of those degrees, but there aren't a lot of jobs for people to go to. There's a really big effort in the counseling community called the Reach Higher initiative, and the intention is to get kids from earlier thinking about their post-secondary path. And one of the things that counselors are really paying attention to that's new is thinking about kids being ready to declare a major when they go to college. Because right now a lot of kids go in and they dabble a bit. Well, they're doing it less because it's expensive, right? We're all appreciating that. So the big push to get done in 4 years, to start with a major, it's that there's interest growing in that. And so when counselors see this slide and they see that a lot of people are getting degrees in a field that for which there are not many jobs, that resonates with them. And so helping kids understand that, you know, a computer science pathway might be right for them, and there are jobs when you get out of school is a helpful message for them. One of the other things I want to point out about this social sciences realm is in the field of psychology, and I know a lot of that blue, those bachelor's degrees are psychology, 87% of psychology majors are female. So yet again, we might be putting a lot of people out with majors for which there's no job to go into. So that's just another issue, and in some ways, you know, an issue of equity. You know, we want everybody to leave school with a good career. So this is just some of the information that I share with counselors that they find compelling, and I hope that you transmit it to them too. Um, Another thing you could do is illustrate that computer science is really interdisciplinary. We kind of talked about that a little bit with the arts, but just because we just spoke about psychology and because most counselors come through a psychology or social science or humanities pathway, I just thought I'd share this with you. Oregon State University, their computer science department, shares this slide, this card and another one for a biology student, and I call this the poaching postcard because they basically talk about the intersections between psychology and computer science and the reasons why you might want to be in computer science with an emphasis in psychology or things you can do with a computer science degree. There are a lot of jobs in UX, which is the user experience, that goes to psychologists. And so just having, even if your major is psychology, but you have some computer science, that would put you ahead and maybe make you more job eligible. So this is just one piece that counselors, they look at it and they go, oh man, I wish somebody had thrust this card into my hands when I was young. At least I would have explored the idea. So especially because they have fun when we do computing together.
Sure. Can I just jump in for a sec there, Jane?
Absolutely.
I was just going to say that I think, you know, having 4 kids who are in high school or recently graduating from high school, you know, having no idea what they want to do for the most part, even the thought or being able to communicate with students that some sort of background in computer science, a course in high school, is going to do wonders for them in terms of understanding how to use computers, that idea of computational thinking, no matter where they end up. You know, they're going to be better prepared for their job if they have some sort of experience in computer science. So,
yeah,
lots
that's
of interdisciplinary connections. For sure.
Yeah, and I would hope within your curriculum, I don't know it that well, but I do know within some of the CSP computer science principles curriculum, there's a focus on, you know, computing out in the world, and within just the teaching modules, you know, kids are getting a sense of how those things overlap, and I hope that they carry that message away, at least, you know, and there are some universities like Harvey Mudd, it's kind of a STEM school, but there's some universities that require an introductory computer science course, just like they require you to take an English course.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're at Scholastica starting this fall. Our computer science class can now count for their math requirement. So
there you go.
Exciting. Yeah.
There you go. That's great. So, so what I would advise is you just when you get those counselors together and you're offering them a little tea after work, describe your course. I just stuck this Exploring Computer Sciences placard or poster in here just because it's meant for kids, but you know, this transmits really well, I think, and kind of present the course in an interesting way. It just you look at that and you think, well, I might want to know more. So if you can describe your course to counselors so that they understand what it involves and what kids are going to get out of it, that's great. And I'm going to ask Fred to do this. Also share what kids can accomplish in the course. He was telling me a great story about mobile CSP. Fred, would you feel ready to do that?
Ralph, I think that's you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ralph. You know what? This is funny. I have an Uncle Fred and an Uncle Ralph.
I think
I'm sorry, Ralph.
I do get called Fred a lot, and Frank too. And I think it's because of the F sound in Ralph. There's those circuits are interconnected in our brains. I think I have.
Well, my apologies, but
no problem.
You know, you shared this story with me, and I thought, well, I'd rather have you tell it than me to make a hash of it. So
okay, so a teacher that took our professional development last summer teaches at South Windsor High. Taught this year at South Windsor High the mobile CSP course, and for their first creative project, he suggested that the students design and build software for their preschool that they have at South Windsor High. And the kids in the course thought that was a great idea, so they started designing apps to teach preschoolers their ABCs or their colors, words. And unfortunately, the apps turned out to be, not age appropriate. So they would involve things like, please type in your login and password, or asking students to read stuff off of the user interface. So what happened was the director of the preschool, who teaches a early childhood education course at South Windsor High, some of whose students help out in the preschool as interns, suggested that the two classes, the early childhood and the mobile CSP, meet together and design the apps together, which is what they did. And they ended up with a great success. They built apps that were used in the preschool, tested on the students, and then left behind for them to play with. And they made an incredible presentation to their board of ed and their superintendent, who were simply blown away by the fact that these two completely different disciplines managed to work together on something so amazing. So it was kind of an ideal outcome from our perspective, showing that kids can really get behind the idea of building socially useful apps with their computing skills.
I think that's great, and I would I like that you brought up the fact that they did that. They went to that next stage of sharing it with the administration. And if you could share it with the public, that'd be great too. But anything you can do to shine a light on what kids accomplish is so great, and it will help build buzz for your program as well. Okay, and one of the things I'd suggest too is sharing local data. This is just a bunch of stuff that was based on, you're not meant to read this by any means, but I would share a lot. I just did a project in Massachusetts a while ago, and we just shared as much local data as we could. And the fun thing about that is you, even at the building level, if you can sort of set a baseline for yourself and think about, well, what kind of data do we want to collect around enrollment into these courses, and what's our baseline? Well, let's just assume that we're going to recruit for parity in the course. So we're going to recruit 50-50. We're going to go across all the different student groups and try to recruit kids from cheerleading and football, and from the drama kids and the band geeks, and just set some goals together. But starting with data and then collecting data as you go is a great idea. There's a lot of good states info from Codeorg. This one is a little hard to see, but down at the bottom of this Minnesota sheet, it talks about how computer science counts, how many jobs there are. There's just a whole lot of information. How many high schools are teaching the AP Computer Science course. It's really a pretty good resource that they keep up to date pretty often. So that might be a sheet that you pull down and use too for local data. And then if you find somebody who's compelled to do this with you, I would suggest that you take all of the information about your program and about your courses and where they might lead and how the course fits into the larger school master schedule and all those things, and create a resource like Jackie Corselli did. She's in New Haven, Connecticut, and she created this computer science pathways document. And when I saw it, I was just kind of blown away. There's a link for it there. You can, I have a PDF that you can pull it down. It's kind of a four-sided piece, but I asked her, this is so great. Who's it for? And she goes, it's for everybody. It's for students. It's for parents. It's for the administrators. It's for counselors. And it just, one of the things, I probably shouldn't have shown this pretty picture, but she also has a year-by-year table that shows how computer science can be, how kids can take computing classes across their high school career. So it's just something that you might want to emulate. It'd be a great project resource to produce together, and it would just bring transparency to the whole process, and it's also kind of a little marketing tool while you're at it. It also suggests you use NCWIT resources so you can plan shared action. This is one, I don't think you have both of these, but I know that you have the top 10 ways of recruiting girls into your classes. That's in the C4C kit. But if you were to sit down with counselors and just talk about these are these are 10 ways, what 3 of these could we consider doing together to get kids into the courses? And what I would, again, one of the things things we're finding out about the counselor experience is when to work with them, and I would do this just prior to when they start scheduling kids into courses, if you can't do it before. But it's just a good, you know, again, they're a gatekeeper and they're helping kids make their choices around the courses, and particularly if your course is an elective or otherwise kind of challenging for kids to find their way into, or it's competing on the schedule with something that's very attractive. You know, just making some plans for how to recruit kids into the courses would be great. But these are 3 resources from NCWIT. But the main, and if you want to get more resources, you just go to ncwit.org, and there's a pull-down menu that's in the first thing you find is resources, and then there's all ways you can slice and dice through these resources. I should have said that NCWIT has a very strong social science backbone, and everything we do has some sort of research base behind it. So we're a trusted source, I'd like to say. So sitting down over these resources with a counselor would be a great thing to do. And then there you've got the C4C kit. I think you got the newest one, or you might have some that are in black bags, but this is the new way we're presenting them. I'm not going to go through all of the resources with you. I think you can do that, and I might even suggest that in your separate sites that you sit down together and just pull the pieces out and talk through them. But there's one piece in there that I will advise you look at first, and it's an introductory letter. And the letter describes all of the resources in the kit and who they're for and how to use them. So there's just a little it's just your marching orders for how to use these resources with kids or parents or colleagues, whoever it is that you're wanting to engage. So I just think it'd be that would be a useful activity for you. And then I would like to imagine you helping tee up the conversation between students and counselors. Because like we said at the beginning, if a kid goes in and makes the ask, the counselor gets very active. They can help them find schools that have the major, look for the courses they should be taking along the way, you know, leading up to graduation. They can help them think about scholarships and award programs. They can help them a lot. So the key, this is a magazine called Careers with Code. This is actually an Australia version that was, I can't tell you right now who the partner is because the US version is coming, and it will probably be in every counselor and CS teacher's on their desk sometime in this next year. But one of the key messages in it, and it's repeated more than once, is ask your teachers and counselor how to get started. So we're hoping that it kind of brokers the exchange so that kids feel activated and excited, and then they're compelled to ask how to get started. So again, you know, helping counselors go from being sort of inactive around this sector and this major, and helping them take action with students is our goal. So we're thinking this resource will be helping us do that job. And then finally, as your program gets started, I hope that you can shine a light on your student success, just like Ralph or Fred. I'm kidding. Just like Ralph said that we have, you know, he talked about how the school board came to know about the students' work with the apps. Just if you can share credit and together shine a light on students and together feel like you help to make that happen, that's a wonderful thing to do. So you've probably, I don't know if you have, but NCWIT has an award for aspirations in computing for young women, and the young women, the application period opens in September, and students apply by themselves, but they need an educator endorser. So if you end up having lots of girls in your course and you don't want to endorse them all, have your counselor endorse some of them as well, and just let them know about this award and other opportunities for young women as they come along. And why don't I just stop there, and I can switch out of and switch back into this presentation in a second. I have a little activity for you to do, and we'll kind of do it offline, but we'll all be able to see it as it develops. But this might be a good spot to stop sharing for a second and just take any questions or comments you have.
Thanks, Jane.
Yeah.
One of the first questions that actually came in, and I'm not sure if you know this information, otherwise I can find it out. Do you know when the next tapestry workshop is?
Well, there's been a little shift in the personnel, and so the next tapestry workshop is this one. I mean, we're in it right now, and they offer it every summer at UVA, and they have stipends for teachers to come. I think they get $1,000 to come and their travel paid for, so it is a really nice thing. It's really great to have some computer science teaching experience under your belt. So it sounds like the timing for this might be good for people for next year. So if you just go to, I would just Google this, but if you just looked up UVA computer science tapestry, you would find it. It would come up for you. Absolutely. So, one of the things we have going on, this will be brief, but we know that not everybody can get to professional development. And so we have some different program providers for CSP, Exploring Computer Science, Bootstrap, which is teaching algebra through computer science, and Counselors for Computing. This summer at Golden, Colorado, we are offering what's called CSPD Week. It's Computer Science Professional Development Week, and it's a week where we fly people in to Golden, Colorado to the School of Mines, and they can take part in trainings in all these different programs. And one of the things we thought about doing is adding tapestry to it next year. So that might be another, program provider during that week, and it would be for people who are just a step ahead of, a step beyond those initial program trainings.
Sure. Are there other questions from our audience members or different hybrid sites? I know Jane mentioned a number of different action items that you could take in your schools. Anybody have questions about how to go about those or ways that you can do that with mobile CSP? While we wait for questions to come in, I'll just share one of the thoughts that came to me when you talked about having an event to share a little bit about the course with with the counselors there. I don't know if folks at the hybrid sites had your facilitators and master teachers do this, but we often use a raffle app. So if you do a raffle app with the teachers and give away something, maybe you give away a poster or something else, t-shirt, bag, that sort of thing, I'm sure we can connect you up with some swag that you can give away to teachers. That would be an awesome way to do that. And then the other piece, Hartford, the group at Trinity College hosts an annual mobile apps day at the end of the year, and that's a great way to showcase what your students are doing and invite in parents and administrators and other teachers to see what's going on in the course. So.
Great. Well, if we are going to proceed at this point, I will go back to my slide, and what I have here is a Padlet. I don't know if you've used these before, but what I'd like you to do is, and you're going to probably have to type this URL in, or I know, we can grab it, can't we? And maybe
put it in the comments.
Yeah. What I would like to know is how will you engage counselors as allies, and secondarily, what would counselors need to know or do to be able to help you accomplish your goals? So when you get into the Padlet, it just becomes a big wall of stickies that has everybody's great ideas. So maybe we'll turn to that now, and I'd like to say thank you. I thought I had an ending slide there with my contact information. I'm going to add it to the slide real fast and put it back up.
And I'll put a link to the slides on the Hangout event page so that you can access them later. So those of you who are watching, if you want any of the links and resources or a refresher on them, you can get to them later. There was one other question that came in. So Catherine is asking, Jane mentioned that we might get counselors to also endorse students for the NC-WIT award, and she's curious as to why this would be necessary. Is the endorsement a letter of recommendation? Does it look better to have a counselor endorsement versus a teacher endorsement?
Well, I could think of a couple reasons. One would be because you want counselors to know that this is happening in your school and that kids are you know, I mean, think how useful that would be on their college applications, right? And so they are helping them with college applications and planning around that and stuff. So just be good for them to know. And another would be is that maybe you have a lot of them and you want to personalize them, and so maybe counselors could help with that. And the endorsers don't have to do much more than verify what the student has said. So they check through the student's application and just are a check on it, and that's part of what the endorsing is. And a counselor could do that as well as you.
Great, thank you.
So I just want to say that this has been really helpful, Jane. This is our 4th year doing this, and I'm for the first time I'm starting to get a sense that there's, you know, enough stuff happening external to our meager efforts as one little project to make things change. And this has certainly been a point in this whole process, the counselors of you know, trying to recruit students to these.
But they could also be more, it could be used more formally, like there will be lots of profiles of people in tech. There will be profiles of people who are in the major or kids that are doing stuff right away, and you could kind of go through the material in a variety of different ways without reading the whole magazine, and you know, just sample from it and actually do lessons or just use it as a point of conversation. I don't know if I'm sharing my screen right now, but
no, not right now.
I am or I am not.
You're not.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again because it's fun to see what's happening on the Padlet.
Oh, good. I was just going to mention that there was things popping up, and people should check that out.
Yeah. Technology is our friend.
While you're doing that, there was a comment that came in from Mark Knutson suggesting 2 things that he would do, or that would be helpful. You come up with a quick elevator pitch that they could use to talk with counselors and students and parents about the course, as well as just trying to have a 15-minute sit-down meeting with counselors. I think that idea of having 15 minutes is very respectful of how busy counselors are, and you can probably communicate a lot of initial information in that amount of time.
That's great. You know, wouldn't that be a fun challenge to have people like put up, this is what my pitch would be, and workshop them a little bit, practice them a little bit?
Mm-hmm. We had our mentors work on some of those at our orientation right before the NC-WIT Summit. So maybe if you're working with your mentor or your master teacher, you can encourage them to share their pitch with you at your PD.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, I'm seeing some nice notes here about talk to counselors before school starts when they're less busy, and it reminds me that we would like to share out when we finish the counselor survey about their experience. Like we found out what the life, a year in the life of a counselor is, and we're gonna, you know, with the bigger study, kind of make that more concrete to let you know, when the good times are to connect with them. And so that just reminded me to let you all know when the study is done, so we can, because for almost everything we ask, there's some kind of practical implication.
And then one person was just asking how to access the Padlet. The URL is on the screen right now. It might be hard to read depending on how well you can see it, but it's padlet.com/Jane_Krauss, and that's KRAUSS/counselors. The link is also in the comments on the event page if you want to find it there too.
And it also should show on the slide.
Good point.
Yeah.
And that's the Padlet. Does that stay up for a while, or
it's evergreen. It'll be there. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I did this with another group not too long ago, and all I had to do was clone this, and it just made me a new one without the stickies.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I know we didn't take time to go through the resources, and I just thought that that's something that you can do on your own, but if I could just prompt you in how to do that, I would just think, you know, read the resource, think about who it might be for, and then what would you do with it? You know, what action would you take with it?
And my only suggestion to add on to that was, you know, like I liked your idea of when you have like the top 10 list, pick 3. Be very specific and pick things that you can accomplish that first year and tackle and do well, and then you can build on the momentum from there.
Yeah, and you might even pick the ones that seem most sort of data-driven. If you're wanting to set a baseline for your program and, you know, build year to year, that might be a way to think about it too. I really like having these notes. Thank you very much. It's helpful for me too. There should be some kind of PD for, yeah, that one of the things that we do in our counselor PD is wherever we go with our counselor professional development, we talk about the course that is being taught and like share the big ideas of the CS Principles course, and we share the learning modules from Exploring Computer Science and things like that. That's really good for them to know what the curriculum looks like.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jane, for
Yes.
taking the time to present to us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for facilitating this and giving me a chance to talk with your folks. I wish everybody the best.
Should we have a round of applause for Jane?
Sure.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Just to wrap up, there was one other comment that came in, nothing related to Counselors for Computing. Dave Wolber happens to think that California is the coolest cohort, but I'm sure that those of you at the other side might disagree. So.
Connecticut disagrees.
All right, well, it's been a lovely afternoon, and like I said, I'll get those slides posted in the comments afterwards so that people can check back there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.